Okay, make sure that you read the background or the intro information, the 10 rules for drawing isobars. I'm going to do this first map with you, and then you will do the second on your own. So find the map that you see here. The first thing we need to do is figure out what the lowest and the highest pressure are. So the lowest is here in the center, and it looks like it's 1005 millibars, so that's my lowest pressure. And the highest that I see 1024 over here. Okay. For the isobar values, now remember isobars are always in a multiple of 4, so I would use 1000 as your reference starting point. So if our lowest number on this map is 1005, then the closest isobar, I'm not going to have 1004 because that's below. So I'm going to start with 1008, then I'll have 1012, 1016, 1020, and 1024. I'm not going to have 1028 because if my highest number, it looks like there's a 1025 right there. Okay, so when you're drawing isobars, you need to make sure that your lines go, if they are, let's say we're doing 1012, it goes through the 1012 point like you see right here. If it's in between, then you draw it in between the numbers. So I've already done the 1008 and 1012 here at the center. So here's the 1016 line. So let's start right here and continue on. So I see 1014 and 1018. I don't see any 1016s. There is one down here. So I'm going to make it go around the 1017 and through the 1016. All right. Now down here, these are 1015, so I can't go below that, and there's 1017. So we're just going to connect our dots using our 1016. All right, now where to go next? I see a 19 and a 20 here, a 14, 11, and 13, so I know it has to go between. All right, here's a 1013, there's 1017 and 16. So let's just loop it right here. Now you always want to make sure that you label your isobar. So this one's already labeled 1016. I'm just going to label it on the other end as I work outward. Okay, so 1016, my next one, we'll just work our way to the middle here, would be 1020. So I've got some 1020s in this area. So let's see, I'm just going to connect my dots. All right, now I have 10, 16, and 17 over here and a 23 over here. So I'm just going to continue my 1020 line right off the page. All right, now let's work on this side. All right, I've got a 19 and 20 here. So let's loop. All right. So I have a 19 and a 22, so it's got to go between. There we go. And that's my 1020 line. Okay, so now the next isobar would be 1024. Okay, so I have some 22s, a 23, and a 25 there in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to circle that 1025 because up here I've got 1023s. A lot of times you'll notice the isobars form circles or pressure centers as we call them, and we'll come back and label those at the end. So you might have several of these pressure centers across your map. All right, so let's continue to work our way along the East Coast. So 1016, I'm going down in pressure. So 16 minus 4, 1012 would be my next one down. Okay. So for this one, I've got 13, 11, So it's got to go in between. If I know this is 16 and that's 8, so let's just start up here. And I'm going to estimate where it goes. It's got to go in between. Can't touch my 16, but it's got to go around my 11. Wait a minute. Let's start this one over. It's got to go around my 14 here. All right, so let me look before I continue to draw. I've got 14, 15, 14, 13. Here's a 12. So I'm going to connect it with my 12. All right, so along the coast, I've got 13s, 13s, 15s, 14s. Here's some 12s. We're going to connect. This part of the line's already been drawn for you. And these are all above, so that's just actually going to go off the page. So let me label my 10, 12. All right, so now I need 12 minus 4 is 8. So here's a 10, 8. Here's a 10, 8. Estimate, there's a 9 and 11. So we're just going to make that go right off the page there. Next line down would be 10, 8. Wait, that was 10, 8. So I need to do 10, 4. So in between my 3 and my 6. And my 10, 4. Okay. So now let's work on the West Coast. All right, I'm going to start with my higher numbers up here. And then work my way down. So I have a 1024 as my highest. So I'm going to go ahead and, if that's surrounded by 23s, then this is probably going to go off the page. All right, so now I need a 1020. So between my 22 and my 18. All right, now this gets interesting. I have to go around the 21. I can't cross over, so I've got to go between the 21 I've got to go around the 22. I can connect down here. Above the 19, connect back to this one. And off the page this way. And that is my 1020 line. All right, so now I'm going to do 1018. Sorry, 1016. So I've got some 18s, a 17. Here's a 16. 19. All right, there's a 19 and 14. It's got to go between. There's connect back up to the 16s here. Around the 17, and that's my 1016. Okay, 1012. All right, so there's 11 and 13, so I've got to loop around that and around the 1010. And it looks like we are done with our isobars. The next we need to label our pressure centers. If the pressure increases towards the center, then we say it's a high pressure center. If it decreases towards the center, it is a low pressure center. So let's find our circles. All right, so right here at the center, I've got pressure of 1,005, and as I work my way out, the pressure is increasing. So this is a low pressure center. So I'm just going to put an L there. You've probably seen these if you're looking at weather forecasts, the H's and the L's. Okay, let's come over here to 1025. The center of the circle is 25. Here's 22, 21, 20. So that's higher. So we'll call that a high pressure center, and we'll put our H. All right, and it looks like that's it for our pressure centers. All right, so this is how you draw an isobar map. It's a lot of trial and error, a lot of erasing, and you just have to make sure that your lines are in between the values they're supposed to be. For example, 12 has to be in between 11 and 13. So you have to do a lot of estimating, but connect the dots when you can. All right, so you need to try part 2 on your own. I gave you 2 copies of the map so that you can use trial and error the first time. You'll probably make a mess, and that is perfectly okay. And you can use the second map as your final copy.